Hey everyone, it's great to see so many like-minded people here talking about API and what's before API and after API. Uh, this year and this morning, it's been all about um, AI, Agentic, MCP, and in this talk, I am gonna also cover some of that similar topic, but more importantly, where I want to dive a little bit deeper is how you think APIs as a basis to be successful in the agentic world. And I'll go through some of the trends, some of the things we are seeing, and some of the challenge I have seen working with other SaaS vendors. So welcome everyone. My name is Ronak Shah. I work at Amazon Web Services as a principal architect. Um, at AWS, I have privilege to interact with ISV vendor who built on AWS. Uh, Outside of AWS, I'm also involved and work with Mark Alliance, and I think Mark Alliance is connective tissue between this event and Mark event. Mark stands for microservices, API first, and cloud native and headless, and it has more than 100 companies trying to promote those that architecture best practices and more importantly educate the industry. So with that intro, let me get into today's presentation, and let's start with what does it look like in 2023, 2030 as we think of AI and LLM world. Well, first one is most obvious, where we already see that these LLMs will be commoditized. There will be bigger, better models with reasoning and whatnot coming every day, and I don't think that's going to be a differentiating factor, but there are going to be just more choices and options. Uh, but more importantly, this is the trend which I think gonna change uh, uh, the way people look at online and especially retail and the commerce. Um, Jeeves does the shopping. What I mean by that, and there is a study from Adobe published uh, in March, which talks about amount of agentic traffic which been increasing to various brands' websites in general for travel and hospitality, retail, and other industry. That traffic is year over year went like more than 1200%. What it boils down to is it's increasing almost 200% month over month. Uh, Now, as instead of users, agents are coming to your website, this creates kind of opportunity and challenges to think about how we shape that where it's more impactful. It's almost similar to how the whole SEO moment started, right? The bot traffic, and to address the bot traffic, you started optimizing your presence online. Uh, Similarly, I think there's gonna be effort to address these agents which are doing shopping in behalf of actual users, and agents have no loyalty, so you gotta also figure out like how do you address them, how do you um, uh, shape your APIs or your presence uh, where they can get things done as efficiently as possible. And it's just not one agent, right? It's a combination of agents which could be completing larger tasks. Think of as an user, I want to plan a party and bake a cake for 10 people. I can ask agent to say, um, I want to bake a chocolate cake for 10 people, and I need all the ingredients by next Monday, 4 p.m. My budget is $60, and go ahead and figure out the best deal and get me the ingredients. And uh, that could go out, get me what I need, and uh, that's kind of more simple personal use case. But even on business side, a similar use case exists. Now, um, I want to kind of get into some grounding. When we say agent, what is it, right? Uh, uh, it's a some software system. It's leveraging AI, especially the LLM, can plan, complete the task on behalf of human and system. In nutshell, it has some sort of memory. It has a brain, which is LLM, tools, knowledge base, the RAG, which we all know. Um, but more importantly, the middle piece here, the tools, is essentially, APIs. And APIs exist in the ecosystem in various form over period of time. Another more simple view of agent, again, kind of same same thing relate to previous slide. User writes a prompt, the agent uses LLM as a brain and does the plan, reason, and orchestrate series of tasks which interacts with external system. And the way it interacts is, ultimately using some sort of APIs. Now, as I said earlier, right, this agents is not just one agent, right? There are multiple agents which needs to figure out how it uses different tools. And it's for a while we were kind of building this RAG and calling these tools within one agent, and it becomes challenging, right? When you are trying to do one-to-one integration, and things the standardized framework is critical here and much needed, and that's where the MCP came in, right? So really quickly kind of go through few MCP concept, and it's an open protocol released by Anthropic, and it standardizes how you provide context to LLMs. There are multiple components within MCP, which we will talk, but a couple of key benefits of MCP is it provides the standardized way to connect AI agent to tools and data sources. Um, for a tool provider or a SaaS vendor, ISVs, they can focus on building MCP server once and then see the adoption everywhere. So it kind of goes back to um, the uh, uh, composability concept and uh, uh, and ease of use. And for enterprise and SI, it's a clear separation of concern between tool developer and application developer. Little bit deeper into what it takes to build an AI agent with MCP. It could be local or remote to the application host, and as an tool providers, you can build an MCP and expose the capability here. And here is kind of one simple example, just to give you an idea of a simple MCP server. And here I want to kind of show kind of end-to-end flow from the user query to calling and tool through MCP server, getting the data from the remote service APIs, right? And yes, here's one AWS service icon, Amazon Bedrock. I am at AWS, and we're not going to go through all 200 plus AWS services, but important enough here. Amazon Bedrock is the way, serverless way to access LLM capability, build agents, and do many different tasks, from accessing frontier models to various your AI development in a serverless manner. Now, with all this context, there are still challenges, and those challenges are, first of all, it's very hard for LLMs to understand APIs, because, as you know, APIs are just not greenfield. You are not building now. It's been built over a period of time. As you know, like most of the SaaS companies came in pictures in, I would say late, between 2000, around 2007, 2010, and APIs are built since then. In real world, it gets complex, and here is the reason, right? So it's, in mid-April, Twilio announced that we are we have an MCP server, and by the way, we made all our APIs accessible through MCP server. And if you think of Twilio, right, they have more than 1,400 plus API endpoints, which supports their communication platform. Now, assume you're prototyping something, vibe coding, right, using V0 or some sort of coding agent, and you tell V0 that for X use case, use Twilio MCP server, or use these through Twilio. Right now, LLM here needs to then figure out, like, okay, which tools, which of these 1,400 plus API endpoint, which one is most appropriate, and that's not easy. So when I saw these, various SaaS companies making announcements, or hey, here is our MCP server, which is great because it provides that a layer decoupling to use tools. But I asked one of another ISVs I work with, Cloudinary, and I work with them, part of my role at AWS, and their API first image and video platform provides like digital asset management solutions to various retail and brands. And I was discussing with them that, hey, you are API first, you have so many APIs, Why don't you expose all through your MCP server? I see you have already built one. And they were like, well, Ronak, it's not easy. And then we try to build that, and um, there were several points which I'll share in few minutes. Uh, but it just because you've been building APIs, it's not all same. It's not all documented same way. It's not version same way. So I'll go through some of those in a few slides, but a few other challenges apart from LLM understanding the APIs is also, as APIs were not built with the mindset that LLM might use it as one API's response could be context to another request to LLM. And think of this moment, and this reminds me kind of same thing which we went through when we transition to mobile from desktop, right? And because at that time, um, late 2000, mid 2000, when after the iPhone, everyone is building apps or providing mobile experience, there were constraints like, we didn't have the speed which we have now. Phone memory and CPUs were not as capable as what we have now. And for that, we couldn't use the APIs which existed before. We had to rethink, like, okay, how do I present uh, do I build kind of new set of API? Do I build a layer which exposes my APIs to mobile? Uh, Kind of same moment happening here, because I was doing some experimentation, playing, with a few calling few APIs, and all of a sudden I hit the limit, right? Hey, you ran out of all the free tokens or the token you are allowed for today, or you get throttling. And when I try to unpack that, what I realize is the first API call I was making, the response was just big enough to kick me out of my allowed quota for token consumption. And so that's a challenge I see, I face, and many other people have faced. And last but not least is the uh, it's in an enterprise application and a complex business workflow. It's just not one API, right? You have series of tasks or series of APIs which are chain, or simplistically, right, for most of the SaaS, right, first thing you're going to do is make an authentication call, get a temp token, and then make another call. So those are also not that straightforward um, for consumption. So there are more challenges, but I want to address these three, and mostly first one in a little bit more detail today. So what is the solution? So before I'll get into solution, but let's kind of ground ourselves again, right? So to make an LLM friendly APIs, first of all, these two SMIDI and open APIs are widely used um, uh, in the industry. SMIDI is an open source protocol agnostic, protocol agnostic, and um, it's an interface definition language where, right, you will start there to define your API, and that will ultimately help you kind of create an SDK, create a good documentation, etc. Same, open API, we all know Swagger specification, and that's the primary ways people kind of build API or document APIs. Now let's get into a little bit like what does it mean we need to make it API LLM friendly. I have few examples, and then I'll summarize with points. Um, Here, um, you know, kind of basic structure when you're um, building an API. Couple of things you'll notice, like the second line there, which says at LLM context. This service handles user management operation and blah, 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 blah. Again, at LLM examples, which, giving kind of more information. Here, it's providing the example of structured data model and versus it just helps, right? More you're providing here helps down the road. Again, we talked about authentication. Here it's kind of saying, here I'm documenting the authentication requirement for API I'm building. Here is how it works. Again, the custom traits for LLM understanding, um, which kind of goes through what it does, what these APIs are about, and so forth. So, I showed few example and going back to like why more and more SaaS vendors or ISVs have published all their APIs or published an MCP server with APIs endpoint. Well, not everyone is kind of at this level where APIs have all this information documented well. So many companies have now like a teams, a tiger team, with just going through it and kind of getting it ready, right? Or they are also putting standards and checks in place as they build new API, right? As an gate to say, I gave that mobile example, and we used to kind of check like is an API mobile ready. Now, you can almost think of a check like is API and LLM ready, right? Uh, Here is some key recommendations I found, which are useful, and these are just discussing with various companies I work with. Um, and we went through a few examples here, but it boils down to provide a description, name for operation structures and field, provide more comments, human readable, understandable example of common use cases, and error handling pattern, because this is where I have seen a lot of kind of LLM request kind of goes haywire when it doesn't know when it receives an error, what flow it needs to fall back to, how many retry it should do, etc. Include the version information. Also, you know, the performance consideration and the response size, which could eat up tokens, right? And um, you use that custom traits, right, for LLM specific metadata, which really helps. So I hope this kind of gives you some thoughts as you go back and look at your APIs and look at your roadmap to say, hey, I want to be out there providing an MCP server. Uh, and I would kind of end with this, right? So I've been in retail space, and we always talk about personalization and providing good experience. But those personalization just doesn't happen unless you have good data strategy and good data governance and good data hygiene. I think similar things applies here, where in order to be agent ready, in order to be providing uh, an MCP server, you gotta be API ready, right? You gotta be kind of look at your all full set of APIs and figure out where um, you need to kind of make some changes. So hope this is helpful, and really enjoyed your questions, and thank you for listening. Uh, Thank you.